Afternoon, everybody. On Friday, we released an original by Beck called Behave, which has been about a month in the making. And the response has been really incredible. And I get a lot of people asking me questions about what's going on in the mix of the song and also how the song was formed from its earlier drafts and then middle drafts and then later drafts and then what is actually going on in that large orchestral section. Because if you're listening to it on an iPhone, you're not going to get the full effect of it. And even if you're not listening on an iPhone, there's a lot going on. So people are asking me, what's even happening in there? So instead of bringing you all up one at a time to show you all the individual things, I thought I'd kind of like document the process. So in this video, we're going to listen to two preliminary drafts of the song, and then I'll walk you through the first bit of the mix, what kind of vocal effects were used, and what like the chords are and how the piano part sort of sets up for the later drama. And then we'll walk through all of the orchestral section things at the end, part by part, and then see how it all comes together by the end of it. Excuse me. Okay. So this is before the song even had like harmony or form, really. It was just like, here's the lyrics, which, by the way, the lyrics on the first, they didn't change at all. So yeah, shout out to back there. This is one of the rare ones where there's no. Usually I go pretty hard on the lyrics and like, no, it's got to be certain way or heavily edited from the first draft. But this one was just gold right out of the gates. So yeah, you'll notice that this particular video, it's called Home. And I think that was a working title at the start, but anyway, let's listen to that.
skate park across the alcohol. Anything now would save the fall. Step away from the light and come on now. Come on, come on now. Come on now. Come on, come on, come on now. Okay.
So that was just recorded with an iPhone on voice notes, ukulele, voice at the same time. I have to correct myself. There's definitely been some small development in the lyrics. She sent me like the lyric sheet, just like written out as a screenshot or a camera, a picture or whatever. And those were the ones that I went with, and I didn't realize that there was some still work in progress going. So sorry to make that error there. But after she sent the paper copy of the lyrics, nothing got changed after that. As you'll be able to tell with the next draft, we changed the chords in the chorus and the bridge, and then all of the little instrumental sections that are going in between, just like interludes between verses, choruses, etc. It's all in F major. We were playing with the idea of doing a key change with the big orchestral section, but it just didn't feel quite right. It was too stark. I didn't know how to set that up to make it kind of like dramatic, and I think it's dramatic enough as it is. But that was definitely part of the process. We also slowed down the tempo a little bit. That one was at about 90 beats per minute in 6/8 time. And this next version, we took it down to about 85, and then further yet to 80 for the end mix. So this was about, we had the Christmas break. But Beck sent that original snippet to me on December 16th, I think. And now it's January 17th, so about a month. I definitely took like 14 days off there, just to reset and do holiday stuff. So really we've been working on it for, I don't know, semantics and details. So what changed with this one is the tempo went down. We replaced the ukulele with piano and changed the harmony to make more of the sections be more distinguishable. I think the melody went through some development too, but really we didn't workshop that much at all. That one was just set. Okay, here we go, version 2.
All right, fine. You have so much time to waste. You have many
So you can see some of the development there. All the stuff I mentioned before. Let's get into the mix here. Okay, so we'll start at the start, and I'll point out a couple of things that are going on. I'll keep the score on the bottom here as big as I can, so you can kind of sort of see what's being played there. There's no dynamic and tempo or articulation markings in this stuff. It's not really that important. All of the dynamics and articulation stuff were entered either manually just by playing them or by mixing with automation, like in there and stuff like that. So here we go. Oh, one thing to pay attention to here that I thought was cool. This was totally an accident, but to establish the 6/8 feel, it was important to have some kind of a thing on upbeats. And what that was I thought I was going to put in a tambourine, but that sounded too cheesy. So I put in a cross stick with a bunch of gated reverb on it. So it's not going to sound like it's happening at the time that it is, but it sounds like a kind of thing that's going on. There's like a ton of extra reverb in there, and then I just cut it off, and I was like, oh, actually that works pretty well. Total mistake, but here's what that sounds like. I'll bump it right now. That's a cross stick. Sounds like a shaker of some kind now. Anyway, here we go. So I can play the score. Here we go.
You have so much time to waste. You have many friends to take. You have all the right to cry, but you have no right to die. So come on.
Before we get into the excuse me, the chorus there, let's talk a little bit about the vocal effect. This was probably the thing, other than the orchestral section, we spent the most amount of time on. And what's going on is there's a delay designer on there that takes the previous 2 bars. So like if this is what's being sung, you're going to hear it again in 2 bars with a bunch of crazy effects on it. Full dry. I always mix the delay of full dry. I don't understand why you'd want to mute the original track at all. And then a very small amount of it. So let's solo that for a second so you can hear what's going on. And then I'll bump it so you can see what's happening. Hear what's happening better. So here's the wet. There's very, very little. So.
You have so much time to waste. You have been and praise to pay. You have all right to cry, but you have no
So there's that. I'll put the piano back in now.
So come on now, come on now. So come on now, come on, come on, come on now. You have.
Ooh, there's a wrong note in there. I'm gonna fix that. Oh, no wonder I didn't hear it in the mix. It's so low. The velocity is 26. Okay, so anyway, delete that. There's a pad in here, which I'll solo for a moment. that it's an arpeggiator, but the arpeggiator is really far behind. Give those kind of like glimmery pad sort of things, and it's just a direct copy of what's going on in the piano, even though nothing is going on there. And then a nice little arpeggio, and then the pad stays in there for the remainder of the song, except for the orchestral bit. So let's listen to the last little bit. The next verse is pretty much the same stuff, except there's some percussion. You'll hear. There's that cross stick thing again. There's also a bass part that just is to establish time. It's not really meant to be, like I put it way back in the mix. Just to, without it being like a groove, there needed to be just like a driving kind of just establish momentum. This coming up is a bass drum. I just wanted the same kind of driving feel to just establish momentum, but not the same cross-stick sound, just to note that it's the chorus, because there's nothing else to note that it's a chorus other than the lyrics, but if you don't know the tune, then it's something different. And that's locked in tight with the bass. So this is where stuff starts getting bonkers in here. I'm going to play these one by one so you can hear what's going on. And I'm going to mute the vocals for this part. No, I'll just put them in one at a time. Let's start with the orchestral percussion. That is a snare drum roll, a suspended cymbal. It's not nearly loud enough. Too loud. I'm not changing this in the original mix. What's out there is out there. This is the fun of remixing. And a timpani and a bass drum. Goes up a little bit. And then a snare drum hit, a low snare drum hit, and then bass drum, gong, and crash cymbals. So all together, that's just one track. It sounds like this. That's it. That's the entire thing. It does a lot for how little there is there. So I have to check something in the master here. No, it's fine. Sounded funny there. Doesn't matter. Okay. Let's start with the rhythm section stuff. There's a drum set, a sub bass thing, and then a distorted guitar, which are meant to be kind of out of the way, just like add some depth to what's going on. But really, the orchestra is driving the entire section. You might not be able to hear this particular sub bass thing unless you have a sub, but it's not really noticeable unless it's gone. It's one of those things that, like, if it's not there, you will never. It won't feel the same. And it's just meant to be a place for like this huge wall of sound to sit under. So it's, although on the score, looks like nothing, that's 2 octaves lower than that. So like the lowest notes a piano can play. Yeah, the lowest note a piano can play. Yeah. So here's the guitar and the sub bass and the drums in that section. other thing really worth noting in there is that there's a slide at the end of the guitar that kind of like brings the big section back into the verse. This, you'll hear it right here. I tried to get that happening in the violins, but it just wasn't translating. There's also in the sub bass part, he's doubling what's happening in the the trombone chords, which you'll hear. I'll line that up in a second here, but I wanted the high parts of the like the brass to be mirrored on the low end, so it would just feel supported. Okay, let's put in only the strings now. I'll show you the score for this as well. So basically it's two violins, and then later a viola, 4 cellos, and 2 double bass. These are all synthesized, by the way. I would love to actually we put a lot of work into the EQing and stuff like that. I'll skip that because it's real tedious, but anyway, here's the strings. That second part here, in case you're interested in seeing this is not exactly what was played, but it's close. Now, those are also stereo spread, so it sounds like there's 2 orchestras, kind of like Eleanor Rigby, where you've got the string octet. It's just 2 quartets playing on the hard left and the hard right. Yeah, there's the strings. The piano is doing the same thing as the bridge, just to kind of hold it down. The chimes you heard the other day, I don't think I need to do that. Let's take a listen to all the brass. There's like 14 takes of, 13 takes, and then 7 synthesized ones, just to kind of round it out a little bit. And also to get it done faster, because I could have spent like another month just doing that. And I'll play the score for this as well. Here's that. I've removed the real trombones when the solo-y bit takes over. Here's that thing at the end with the high-end chord thing that just goes. That's mirrored in the bass. So here's just the brass section. And then a ton of reverb, so it's not such a drastic change back to the verse. Let's put in all of the, this is important to note, that I took out the synthesizer, the pad thingy, this little bit, in the orchestra section, but put it back at the end, whoops, right here, just to give the arpeggiator some time to rev up. It behaves like a rotary speaker, kind of, so there'd be some hangover and it's not just so stark. And we can talk about the vocal tracks if you want. We recorded 7 of them, and I went with 3 of them, 1 in the center, 2 of them hard left and right, with the effects all gone and the reverb all gone, just to make it feel kind of matches the side of everything else. I was going to harmonize the vocals too, but we decided that's not going to work. We just needed the words to be said and heard, supported with this dramatic sort of orchestral flourish. So let's listen to the entire orchestral section, everything, without the vocals, and then we'll put the vocals in. You can hear the context. Percussion, verses, strings, sub bass, drums. So there are 4, 5 guitar, bass, drums, piano. 2 chimes. 34 things happening. Oh, bass too, 35. And then more as the line builds up here at the end. I added like pretty much double what's going on. Okay, here we go. A little bit of pre-roll. Reverb from the chimes was still happening there. And we'll put the vocals in. I did use some of those more vocal tracks at the end there. And again, all that delay with the voice and all that processing got taken off, so it's really raw. But there's just 3 of her instead of 1. I'll put it back a little bit. Wait a second, I didn't put in the rest of the percussion. Or the bass. Okay, there. And it fades out for a long time. So I think that's about all of the things I wanted to share there. There's definitely more technical details. If you care about them or not, you can ask me questions. We're still going to be on Zoom on Tuesday and Thursday night this week. One thing that I got to give a shout out to Kevin Epp, who's an EA with us here, who's got a great ear. I tend to bounce a lot of things off him. Is that I wasn't going to put the piano into this section because there was just a lot going on and it was really dense and hard to mix, get it right, or at least legible or hearable. I don't know, whatever the sound version of legible is. But he told me to put it back in, and I helped a lot. I'm not sure if this is going to work here, but I'll play it in and out and see if you can, make the call. I'll leave it in to start and then out later, and you'll hear how it just provides like somewhere for everything to sit. That's in the mid range instead of just that sub bass. kind of, I don't know if that's going to translate at all, but it makes a big difference on this end. It's like this whole frequency spectrum that was just missing without it. And then, oh yeah, I was going to show you, geez, these are all so long. Bear with me. It's a more efficient way to do this, kids. It's not this. Okay. Oh, now there's more. This is probably how I ran into that problem with that click in the trombone track being there. I'm trying to spend half an hour trying to find that. The sub bass thing with the brass part that has like those chords in it. Where is that? It's these, just to hear how it's supported. Without that, it just feels empty. Okay, I think that's it. That's all of the things that might kind of make sense. Everything is heavily compressed, like a lot. There's the master track here. Like removing 1.5 decibels from everything, basically every sound. There's an exciter that adds a bunch of like harmonics right around like the high mid range. Another compressor that takes off decibels. It's like a post compressor, and then a limiter that just deletes half a decibel from everything, entire track. Plus, the EQ is way, like I took off. This was mostly to get rid of some of the ugly frequencies in the sub bass. This is just all desirable frequencies, like above like 12,000 K. And then I took off 7.5 decibels from everything. So there's 8.5, 9, 10.5 decibels gone from the entire thing. If I put that back in, it's also almost unlistenable. This took a while to figure out how to EQ my way and master my way out of having too much stuff. It's not too much stuff, it's just the right amount. But if I take all of these off, you'll see, you might have noticed when I was playing through this before that the main level here, it never redlined. It got pretty close, but it didn't. Oh, and there's a master track down here where I was like, I just removed 1.5 decibels from the entire orchestral section. Now I've got decent frequency response monitors here that I can hear pretty much everything, but on an iPhone, it just doesn't come through. So if you got a decent system or like high response headphones, even on AirPods, it's not that bad. But if you got a decent system to listen to this on, please do. It's worth it. Anyway, so I guess I said I took away 10.5 decibels from the entire thing, but another 1.5, so 12. This is minus 12 decibels, and that's a lot. So if I turn all this stuff off and put the master back to flat, you'll hear how it's pretty much unlistenable. And gosh, that was frustrating. I almost dropped the entire thing, but not anymore. Okay, so sorry, volume warning. I didn't even take out the EQ, so there's still 7.5 decibels left in there. I won't put you through that again. If you want me to demonstrate it for you, if you come upstairs, then I will, but not now. Okay, so I'm gonna save none of that because that was, but I made a backup. I didn't wreck the original one. Anyway, so this was a super fun project to work on. For those of you who are doing songwriting, or have questions about what that process is like, it's different every single time, but this is a way to go about it. If you send me lyrics, we can workshop harmonies and chord progressions and form from there, and then do a couple of drafts, and then let the creative process take over as it usually does. The first step is always the hardest. What's that saying? Journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. yeah, usually that first step is a backward step, and then 3 forwards, so forth. But once you get to like step 3 or 4, it's just kind of like it's all downhill. I mean that in a positive way. I meant that in the gravity takes over metaphor, not in a it goes badly thing. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop that there, and thanks for the requests to do that. That's really fun. It helps me refine my process too, and also helps for other people who are getting into this to witness this sort of thing and maybe learn something as a result. Okay, thanks everybody.